Ready? Hello, we are Group 3, and our group members consist of Tyler Vandermate, myself, Ashton Frias, Nicholas Gray, Wenkai Chen, and Abhinav Kodot, and we'll be presenting Pixel Grounding Large Video Language Models, or PG-Video-LLaVA for short. So here's just a basic outline of our presentation. We're first going to go over the introduction, model architecture, training and results, conclusion, and finally, limitations and potential ideas. So just for a basic outline, current LLMs and LMMs extend pretty well to images. For example, LLaVA, Instruct Blip, Mini GPT-4. However, extending to video is still an open question as there's difficulties with the massive data volume, temporal complexity, and audio complexity. However, there are some recent approaches. Some works that align LLMs to videos is Video Chat GPT, and Video-LLaMA. And they demonstrate video and dialogue comprehension. However, they do lack a visual grounding feature, which is responsible for linking LLM responses to specific objects in the video, as well as the use of audio. So some key contributions that PG-Video-LLaVA makes is that it is the first video-based LLM with a pixel grounding capabilities, as well as incorporating audio context to enhance video understanding. And lastly, improved quantitative benchmarks for video-based conversation models. So here's just the overall architecture for PG-Video-LLaVA. We just wanted to show first everything covered so you can see that it is modular, so you can switch out anything, as well as we're going to step through each thing so you guys fully understand what's going on. So the first part we're going to go over is the LLM, which is a frozen LLM. It uses the Vicuna architecture just to ensure that everything is reproducible instead of choosing a GPT. And it accepts 4 selection prompts. First, system commands, user queries, video tokens, and lastly, an audio transcript. And then it produces a response with key nouns. The next part is system commands, which we're basically letting the LLM know how to answer a question, and a user query, so any question the user may ask. Next, this may be new to some of you, which is the audio transcript or audio module. So we're just going to walk through each different step so you guys understand how the audio is converted into a transcript. So first is the audio activity detection, or VAD for short. This identifies speech segments while filtering out noise, such as lyrics to background music or garbage noise, and then cuts and merges them into batches. So you can see here we have the original input source. We then send it through the VAD, which then filters out all the garbage noise. So you can see here we have different audio segments. And then it goes through the cutting and merging. So it goes up to 30-second windows. This is to allow for to match the input for the next Whisper model. So you can see here we have an audio segment that's over 30 seconds. So we then cut it. And then we have audio segments that are less than 30 seconds. So we then merge them together. The next 3 parts is the Whisper, audio tagging, and phoneme model. The Whisper model basically just converts the speech to text or to a transcript. And then that transcript is then sent through audio tagging, which then considers the top 3 audio classes from the transcript. And if any of those 3 top classes are not speech, then that is filtered out. And then lastly, the phoneme and force alignment. Phoneme just classifies the smallest unit of speech, distinguishing one from another. And then through force alignment with the transcript generated by Whisper, they are then we create a word level timestamp and transcript. So just for some results, you can see here we have an original transcript, and the model understands that thanks for watching is a hallucination, so it filters it out. Here, the model, our audio model, is able to determine that it's music, so it filters that entirely out. And lastly, it determines that this transcript right here is garbage, so that is filtered out.
Thank you, Ashton. Next, I will be covering the spatial-temporal video representation. So the spatial-temporal video representation is inspired by the same architecture from Video ChatGPT, and it initially starts with a list of frames from the video of size T. And for each frame, it's fed through a visual encoder, which here is the clip VIT model. After each frame is fed through, we get a list of N frame embedding size D for our T frames. And then for each of these frame embeddings, we do two types of pooling to extract two types of features. The first type of pooling we do is spatial pooling, where for our N embeddings for each frame, we pool them all together into one average embedding to help describe the overall spatial information in a particular frame. And then we do that for each frame in the video to help understand how the general spatial information changes over time. And then the second type of pooling we do is temporal pooling, where instead of pooling on the spatial axis, we instead pool over time, depending on the order of the features. For example, as you saw there, the first feature of each frame was pulled together into one average frame, and then we did that for the second, and etc. And this is done to help generalize the spatial information across time for a specific patch in the image. After we do the temporal pooling and the spatial pooling, we then combine these features together into one larger set of features. We then feed through our projection layer to convert them into a space that the large language model can understand. Next, we come to the grounding module, which is the second novel addition to PG-Video-LLaVA, which is able to perform pixel level grounding across a video. And so the first thing we do for the grounding module, if we do scene detection using PyScene detect, which starts with our initial video, we feed the video through and we break it up into individual segments. And the way it works is that it looks at the adjacent frames and splits them based on that. As can be seen here, these frames are all quite similar to one another, but when you look at these two frames, they are very different from one another. So PyScene detect can understand that these two frames are in different clips and then can split them as such. The next section is the tagging module, which takes in for each frame in the video, it feeds it through the tagging module, which then generates a list of objects that is in that image. For example, here our image has a lion, a man, and a mountain, which after we feed through the tagging module does generate that list of objects. We then use the list of objects generated from the tagging module with our grounding module. So the first thing we do is that with our list of objects, we convert that into a prompt that we then feed into the grounding module, which here is grounding dyno. The output of our grounding module is a set of bounding boxes that describe objects in the image. For example, here, based on our prompt lion, man, mountain, we do get bounding boxes on that. And the powerful thing about the grounding module is that because it is powered by a prompt, it is class agnostic. So you can use so it can output any sort of bounding boxes with any sort of class. It's not controlled by a set number of classes. We then use this bounding boxes to do proposal refinement, where we feed the bounding boxes through SAM, the segment anything module, and then we get an output a specific segmentations, which are a finer view of the objects inside the bounding box. Next, we use the segment as described before in the scene detection. We take our segments and our bounding boxes and we combine them together into an overall tracking of individual objects. As can be seen here, we have our capybaras are individually identified throughout the video, despite them having the same class. Now object tracker is decoupled from the segmentation so that we can perform any sort of segmentation and then track them over time. And as I said before, the segmentations are given unique IDs. Finally, we get to the entity matching module. And the entity matching module works with the LLM response from the overall system along with each frame. And the way it works is that we first take our objects in our image and we generate a list of them. For example, here we have our lion, our man, and our mountain. So we have that list, and we have our LLM response. We then combine them into one overall prompt where we have both the list and the text, which we then feed into Vicuna 1.5 to perform entity matching. Now, what entity matching is it's matching the items that are in the list to what is going on in the actual LLM response, which, for example, here, we may have lion, man, mountain in the image itself, but as can be seen in the text response, the only things that are particularly relevant are the man and the lion, which is what Vicuna puts out, which we then use on our images to help filter out any of the irrelevant bounding boxes, so only the relevant bounding boxes are kept throughout the video. And so to go back to an overall overview, this is PG-Video-LLaVA. As can be seen, compared to other language models, this PG-Video-LLaVA not only incorporates textual responses of a system command in a user query, it also incorporates video understanding and audio understanding. And adjacent to all of this is an additional modular system of grounding, so that you can generate pixel level grounding based on your response of your large language model. Now, for the training details, the training data set used for PG-Video-LLaVA was the Video Instruct 100K dataset, which is 100,000 video instructions that is derived from the ActivityNet 200 dataset. And we only had to tune the projection layer of the spatial temporal video representation, as the rest of the model is frozen. And so we tuned that layer for 3 epochs with a learning rate of 2e⁵ with the Atom W optimizer, a batch size of 32, and we used the causal language modeling objective.
All right, thank you, Nick, for presenting the grounding module. Now let's go on to the benchmarking part of the paper. So the benchmark implementation, it uses the same framework as Video ChatGPT, where the LLM queries the LLM for a 0 to 5 score based on how accurate the predicted answer is against the ground truth. And instead of using GPT 3.5, Vicuna 1.5 is used as an evaluation LLM to increase reproducibility, as it is open source. And there are 5 axes across which the LM answer is evaluated. First is the correctness of information, detail orientation, contextual understanding, temporal understanding, and consistency. And we'll be going into a little more depth on these on the next slide. So correctness of information just basically checks how accurate the generated text is and makes sure it aligns with the video content. Detail orientation checks the depth of the model's responses. So it looks for completeness and sees if the meaning of the model's response covers all the major points of a video. Contextual understanding is when the model can understand the video's context and checks if the responses are in line with basically the overall content of the video. Temporal understanding checks if the model's grasp of the sequence of events in a video are good when answering questions. Then we have consistency, which basically checks the model's consistency across different but similar questions or in different sections of the video. And this is an example query of the first axis, which is correctness of information. And as you can see here, we have this question, correct answer, predicted answer that we input. And we ask the LLM to provide a sort of accuracy score between 0 and 5, where 5 is indicated as the highest level. And this is an example response where the score can be 4.8. So let's go into quantitative benchmarks. For this conversational quantitative benchmark, a subset of the ActivityNet 200 dataset was used. And this contains distinct video segments and ground truth annotations, which were enriched by human annotators, making it more accurate. These are the results that the model got, and these are the 5 axes here. And as we can see, overall, PG-Video-LLaVA does better than even the baseline Video ChatGPT and other models. Next, let's go on to spatial grounding evaluation. This is a new metric that was used, so we'll be going into a little bit more depth about how this metric was calculated and the data sets that were used. So for this metric, there were two datasets that were used. The first one is vid-stg. This is derived from the vid-or dataset, where the vid-stg contains the raw videos, the bounding box annotations, caption descriptions, and the given questions for each caption. The next dataset is an HC-SVTG dataset. This contains, again, the videos, the bounding box annotations, caption descriptions, and since it doesn't contain the questions for those captions, it is passed through Vicuna and it generates those corresponding questions. So now let's get into how this this metric is actually calculated. So first we have a video and the question answer pair. We pass in the question answer pair to Vicuna, where it then extracts a key noun phrase representing that video and answer. So the key noun phrase along with the video is passed into the grounding module, where it then draws a predicted bounding box based on the key noun phrase. In this example, it is man. And as you can see, it draws a predicted bounding box around man. So this is compared with the ground truth, and the ground truth are selected frames where we know this man exists and this bounding box actually exists, which we then compute the IOU score, the area of overlap over union, and we average all these IOU scores for these different predicted frames and the ground truth together to then get the mean IOU, and that is what is presented in the actual metric. So these are the metrics for spatial grounding. And as you can see, there is quite a significant jump in PG-Video-LLaVA's result with 3 points for 13B and almost 8-point increase for the 7B version. Now let's go on to zero-shot video VQA. In this case, there were 4 data sets that were used. First one is the MSVD-QA, which is based off of the MSVD data set. Next is MSR-VTT-QA, again, based off the MSR-VTT dataset. Then the TGIF-QA, based off the TGIF dataset. But in this case, the GIFs, only the GIFs are provided. There's no audio present. And all of these datasets have QA pairs. And this is the ActivityNet QA, which is, again, based off the ActivityNet 200 dataset. So in the way the actual calculation is made, we pass in the question, the actual ground truth answer, and a predicted answer, and Vicuna will basically tell us, is it correct? Yes or no. That'll determine the accuracy. And how correct is it with the score from 0 to 5? And these are what the results are. So overall, PG-Video-LLaVA does pretty well. It's a little weak in the ActivityNet QA, but about the same score for video ChatGPT on the score side, but it's a small difference for the accuracy. Now, since we've gone over the quantitative side, let's go on to the qualitative performance. So in this example, we see that we have a video of a giraffe jumping off a diving board into a pool. And we want, the input is to describe this video. Video ChatGPT gives a one-liner that describes this video. But when we go on to the 7B version of PG-Video-LLaVA, we get a little more in-depth, a little more descriptive. Then we get to 13B, which is almost like a paragraph's worth of description of a giraffe jumping into a pool, which is great because it has a lot more context. Next, we'll see the spatial grounding qualitative performance. So this is what you see in this video. We see the giraffe and the water are different components of each frame. And we see that it is segmenting the giraffe in certain frames. And in frames where the giraffe doesn't exist, it segments this pool, which is the water. Same case with the next example. It has more things to segment, but it's still successful in that it segments the related objects in each frame. And similarly, we can see that with this gymnastics video. Now let's check out how this works along with audio. So this is an example of a prompt where it asks, can you suggest a title for this video clip based on what you see and hear? So this is without the hearing part, without the audio. And the title is The Future of Technology and Communication, which is kind of broad in general, right? But we know this is Sam Altman here, and this is Lex Friedman, so it's got to be something about AI. But with audio, with the audio transcript, we see the title's more in-depth and descriptive. It's on GPT-4 and ChatGPT, and we know that's probably the right answer. This is another one with Ross complaining about things as usual. This response is only based on the visual aspect, but this is with the audio about someone eating a sandwich. This gives a more in-depth and accurate response, as we can see, because we have multiple modes of input. Next, we know PG-Video-LLaVA is great, but it's not perfect. There's some failure cases, like in this example, the bounding box segmentation is just wrong. It's warping this background and all that, but the output text is right. In this case, the segmentation just kind of switches off for this woman right here, and switches to this woman in the background. In this case, the text output is just wrong, and the bounding box is also a little bit off here, the segmentation. And in this case, there's a prompt of who pushes the woman to the table. The doctor in the lab coat right here is properly cemented, but then just switches to another random guy right here, which is wrong segmentation. In conclusion, PG-Video-LLaVA is a novel-based, video-based conversation model with pixel-level grounding capabilities. The novel addition is the usage of audio transcripts to enrich the visual understanding. And we know that the grounding module can also track and generate pixel-level object grounding in videos. And it is reproducible, and it has reproducible quantitative benchmarks because we switched from GPT 3.5 to the Vicuna LLM. Some limitations and potential ideas. Firstly, we have the entity matching module, which only uses text for reasoning. Instead of this, we could use an image encoder or this spatial-temporal feature extraction on bounding boxes that we can then input alongside the text prompt into the entity matching module. Another problem is that the current audio module just transcribes speech directly to text. This can ignore the complexities of speech, such as tone and intensity and volume. So maybe some solutions to that could be contrastive learning can be done on an audio encoder and text encoder, or we can extend the audio tagging module to output these sort of complexities in speech. There's also multiple points of failure in this model, as it is a modular design. So one way to see these different points of failure is to use an evaluation LLM. And for example, you can use an evaluation LLM to check the results in different steps in the grounding module. For example, checking the output between the grounding module and LLM output. Overall, PG-Video-LLaVA